Hello, my name is Tim Haas. I'm the clarinet professor here at Grand Canyon University, and I'm going to help walk you through regional etude number 1 for clarinet. So a couple things to watch out for in regional etude number 1 here. Number 1 is to watch out for the dynamics. So at the beginning we start mezzo forte, and then at the end of the first measure it decrescendos down the piano, and then in measure 3 all of a sudden the mezzo forte comes back. So we have a subito mezzo forte right there that changes suddenly. We have the same effect from measure 3 to measure 4, where it goes down the piano, and then the rest of the way out, the dynamics slowly get louder and louder and louder all the way throughout this. So it's a gradual build from measure 4 all the way to the end. Throughout this piece, there's a lot of articulations. We've got accents interspersed throughout and a lot of staccatos too as well. So it's a big thing in this etude to really pay close attention to those, be sure you're really doing what it says on the page. A good way to start working on this piece is to start slowly. And I really like with my students to start this with the 8th note for the beat. It's a little easier to think about all the rhythms and how they line up. And then as we progress and we get faster with it and we get more familiar with it, we switch it back over to the quarter note. So for example, at the beginning here, this is 104, but this is 104 for the 8th note. So this is half tempo. It's a good place to start like this. So if I play the first couple measures, it will sound like this. It's much easier to figure the rhythms out this way. And a lot of the rhythms repeat over and over again. We've got 16th notes, we've got triplet 16th notes, we've got 8th notes. And we also have some triplet 16th 30 seconds. These are much easier to think about with the 8th note for the beat. So with the 8th note for the beat, the 8th notes would be like a quarter note, 16th notes would be like 8th notes, triplet 16ths would be like triplet 8th notes, and then the dotted 16th 30 seconds would be like dotted 8 16ths. Much easier to figure this out. So it can be kind of intimidating just looking at all the ink on the page all the way through here. All the way through here, we want to be sure rhythm is very, very precise. Using a metronome is key when you're working on this etude. And that's all for number 1. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And I'm going to help you walk through regional etude number 2 for the clarinet. So this is a slow etude of the 3 regional etudes. So tone production and dynamics are really, really important in this, and you want to be sure that you're focusing on this as you practice. Going through the piece, it's in 4 flats, so there is going to be some weird technical pinky issues all the way through here, and I want to walk you through a couple of the harder ones. In measure 3, there's a trill from a D flat to an E flat. This one's kind of strange, and so the way I like to do it is I like to play the D flat on the left hand, and then I trill with the E flat key on the right hand, but I leave the left pinky down. It's a lot easier to do than trying to go. It's really hard to coordinate it that way, and it goes so fast, no one's going to be able to tell that you're really out of tune on that E flat. Measure 4 has got a very weird pinky combination at the beginning of the measure. So it starts with a D flat in the staff, goes down to a D flat below the staff, then back up to D flat, a C, and a B flat. You're going to have to play the first D flat on the right hand, then you have to go down to D flat below the staff, go back up to the D flat on the right hand, and then go to C on the left hand. It's a pretty unusual pinky combination. It doesn't come up all that much. So definitely one you're going to want to look at. So really slowly, so you can watch my fingers. If you try any other combinations, you're going to get stuck in the slur, and you're going to get extra notes that are going to come in there. So those are a couple of weird pinky things all the way throughout. You definitely want to mark your flats all the way throughout here to be sure you got all of them. There's a lot of them in here. Dynamically, there's some big builds in here. The crescendo at measure 6, it's a big crescendo. Want to be sure we're doing a lot with that. The forte at at measure 8. We're sure we're doing a lot of that. It's also marked appassionato, which means impassioned. So we want to really be sure that we're doing a lot with that right in there. At measure 10, the trill is just an E to an F. The grace notes are a little bit weird. That E natural is going to carry through. So it's going to be a D flat, E natural, D flat, C for the combination there with the grace notes. It's a little bit strange there. At measure 7, we have a drop from an E flat at the top of the staff to A flat below the staff. It's marked as a slur, but it's really, really hard to do this. So I suggest re-articulating that bottom note there. Just very, very lightly at the end there. At the end, there's a polka retard, which means it slows down just a little. And that last note, the A flat, is held until beat 6. You want to be sure you're holding it at full value. And anyway, that's a little tutorial for you on number 2. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. And I'm going to help you walk through regional etude number 3 for the clarinet. So of the 3 regional etudes, this is the fast one. So it's marked the beginning vivace, which means fast. And it moves at a pretty good clip. So it's a 9/8 at the beginning, and its dotted quarter note equals 88. Pretty fast. So definitely would recommend on this, starting this very slowly. 8th note for the beat would be a really good place to start with this, just to be sure that we're playing everything technically correct. The big danger comes in a piece like this when we play it really fast is we sometimes lose a lot of our technique and our clarity with our fingerings when we start to go fast. So one of the things that I like to do in my own practicing and with my students is when we have fast technical pieces to start with everything tongued. So our fingers are prone to rushing pretty good. Our tongue is not. Our tongue usually, most of the time is going to stay nice and consistent. And if anything, it's going to slow down a little bit. So what I like to do at the beginning is take things really slow and then have all the 16 notes tongued. So for example, I'm going to put the metronome on here 88 for the 8th note. This is the 3rd tempo. And I'm going to play the first 2 measures with everything tongued. I really find that helps the fingers line up really good. And it also will be really obvious right away if your fingers are rushing at all, because it won't line up with the tongue and it will sound off. And it's easy to fix when we do that. I tried to work tempos up and try to keep that in as long as possible. And then once I get to a point where I feel real comfortable with that and I can't keep up with the tongue, then I switch the slurs back. It really helps them clean things up a little bit. So a couple technical things here that'll make this piece a little bit easier for you. In measure 1, as far as pinky notes, we have B naturals in here. I would highly suggest putting those on the right hand. That'll just make the technique a little easier than trying to coordinate with the left hand. Same thing goes in measure 2 on the 16-note run at the end with the C sharp. A little easier there to do that there too. And measure 7 with the B and the C sharp. They seem like small things, but when you go really fast, it makes a huge difference. Dynamically, you start out with this etude, you start out very, very loud, and then it starts forte, and then it goes to fortissimo here. So it's big and full at the beginning. You definitely want to push a lot of air through this. This will help a lot with your confidence in this piece, and also will help it be a lot more virtuosic. As far as high notes go, in measure 2, we've got a D and a C sharp. Most of the time with D, we want to push this pica down to help with resonance a little bit. But in here, it's probably best if we don't put that down. For C sharp, we don't want to do that because it makes the note really, really out of tune if we add that. So for both of those notes there, we'd recommend just leaving that off altogether there. There's a big decrescendo at measure 5, which is kind of weird because it's an ascending 16-note run. Most of the time, if you see something like that in a piece of music, there's going to be a crescendo behind it. So just be sure you're really doing what it says on the page, really coming down quite a bit. And then 7, really, really bring it back up again too as well. There are accents interspersed in here too as well. Pay attention to those. Be sure articulations that we're doing what they say on the page. There are some staccatos interspersed in here too as well. It can be easy moving our fingers to forget about those other things too as well. Anyway, there's some tips and advice for etude number 3. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. So I'll say etude number 4 is a bear. It's got a lot of stuff in here, a lot of rhythms, a lot of technical parts, a lot of weird pinky fingerings all the way throughout here. There's a lot of stuff in here. So I want to walk you through some things that will help you with this a little bit. So the beginning is marked scherzando, which means lively. So we want to be sure it's got a lot of articulations that we're keeping things moving all the way throughout here. Definitely recommend keeping the articulations pretty short most of the way throughout. That will help not only keep it lively, but also be sure it doesn't slow down. This piece can slow down very, very easily with all the rhythms all the way throughout here. As we go through this piece, there's a lot of dynamic stuff that you have to really pay attention to here. First of all, it starts forte and stays forte for a good long time. Then going into measure 6, it gets soft, and we have some hairpin crescendos, decrescendos from piano to mezzo forte and back down. We want to be sure we're really doing a lot with those. At measure 9, it's piano until the very, very last beat of the measure, and it goes from piano to forte. That is a very, very big crescendo, and you want to be sure you're doing a lot with that. And it stays at forte and comes way down, going into measure 13. And then at 13 and 14, these little 4-note snippets, piano, then all of a sudden it's forte, and down to piano. So we want to be sure we're really paying attention to the dynamics all the way throughout here. A couple technical things to watch out for in this one. In measure 4, at the end of the 16-note run on beat 3, we have G sharp, and then we go down to E sharp, which is the same as F, and you're going to want to do that on the left hand. And then after that, we have an F sharp, which goes on the right. So kind of a strange pinky pattern we don't see all that often, so we want to be sure we're really watching out for that really good. Measure 6, 7, 8, the style changes a little bit. So we have a scherzando part at the beginning where we have very short articulations. It's very lively. Then we get to a smooth part at 6. You want to be sure at 6 that you're making everything full value and really changing the character of the piece a little bit right here. And then we go back to measure 9, we're immediately back in. And we get to measure 9 there too as well. All the way throughout here, you definitely want to start this slow. Definitely recommend playing this with metronome very, very slowly to start. Also, I also recommend just to work on the finger coordination all the way throughout here, tonguing all the notes to begin with. I find that when I do that, if I'm tonguing every single note at the beginning stages when I'm playing stuff really slow, it really helps my fingers stay in time really well. So for example, at the beginning, this is 60 beats a minute, so this is half tempo. I find if I do that and I practice that consistently at slower tempos, when I start to move it faster, my fingers have a lot better time of a lot easier job of staying in time all the way throughout here too as well. All right. Definitely want to look over your rhythms really, really carefully all the way through here. Marking where the beats are in these measures, especially in some of the measures like measure 9, can be very, very helpful all the way throughout here. So hopefully this helps. That's some things to look out for with etude number 4. So at the beginning of this piece, it's marked lacrimoso. This is not a term we see in music all that often. It means sad or mournful. So it has a very sad character to it. It's in F sharp minor through here. A lot of low notes in here, so definitely want to bring out the sad, mournful quality of it, and really focus on a really dark tone all the way through the piece. Since this is a slow etude in the all-state progression, you want to be sure you're doing a lot with the dynamics, and there's quite a bit in here. There are also some ones that are a little bit confusing. For example, looking at going from measure 3 to measure 4, at measure 3 it's marked piano, and there's a crescendo, and in measure 4 it's a piano too as well. So what you want to do here is you want to be sure that you're doing the crescendo, and measure 4 you come back down to piano. And this happens again at measure 5 too as well. So if I demonstrate, so it's almost like a subito piano right in there. So I want to be sure that we're really doing that. It's not a piano crescendo to the piano. We can't do that. At measures 5 and 6, we have this sideways S symbol. This is called a turn, all right? And how this is going to work is basically you're going to go up and down around the first note, the dot eighth note in each measure, okay, for the C sharp. So for this one, what you're going to do is you're going to play C sharp, you go up to D, back down to C sharp, back down to B, back down to C, up to C sharp. Okay, so, and then we're going to attach the 16th note after that too as well. So, bum, ba da da dee da dum is how it lines up in the metronome. So basically we have a 16th note, and then triplet 32nd note, and then 2 groups of 16th notes after that. And that's how it works for the turn. Measure 6, we have a turn there too as well. And if you look underneath that one, you're going to see there's a sharp symbol. That's going to tell you that the note below it, the E, is going to be an E sharp. It's the same as F. Definitely recommend on this one that we use the alternate fingering, which is fingered like an F with the banana key down here. All right. So this one goes from F sharp to G sharp to F sharp, back down to E, then back up to F sharp, and then we include that G sharp 16th note afterwards. And we treat it the same way we did in measure 5. So definitely want to work that out. It's kind of confusing, and that's how you do it. There's some weird pinky stuff that comes between 8 and 9. You have to watch out for it. So at the end of measure 8, we have a G sharp and then an E sharp, which is the same as F natural. And you're going to want to start, so we have G sharp on the right. Then you're going to go to E sharp, which is going to be on the left, which is going to be the same as F. Then afterwards, we've got an F sharp, which is going to be on the right. Then back to the E sharp on the left and F sharp on the right. Kind of a strange pattern, so want to be sure you're watching out for that. We also have an F double sharp that shows up in measure 9, which is the same as a G, so watch out for that. And then measure 10, we've got both a B sharp, which is going to be the same as C, and E sharp is the same as F. So when we get to measure 7, we're at forte, and then we come way down to piano at 9, and then it comes up a little bit, comes back down to measure 9. And measure 10, it really starts to build. So it's mezzo piano. Then we get to measure 11, it's mezzo forte, and then it builds to forte at 12. So definitely want to be sure that you're doing a lot with that crescendo in there. It's a very big dramatic moment. We want to be sure we bring that out. And then it dies down after that all the way to the last note. And just remember, with this etude, this is the last etude that you will play at the all-state audition. So you want to make a really, really good impression. So you want to really be sure you're doing a lot with the dynamics all the way throughout there. So the last impression you leave for the judges is a really good one. So there's some tips for you on etude number 5. Hopefully this has been helpful for you.